So starting to think about, increasing the likelihood to get to closing on a deal. Bill, I'd love to pose a question to you. Beyond the financials that you talked about, what operational or leadership red flags cause buyers to discount value, even when the business might look strong on paper? And what could sellers address earlier on to increase that value?
Well, I'll start with a couple that are pretty obvious. And having lived through this in a very complicated technical business, the chain of custody in IP is critically important, which Linda mentioned. You have to know who's touched your intellectual property along the way, especially the more technical your business is. Another one is taxes. Making sure that you filed everything, that you understand what your risks are, you better know what your nexus is and things like that. That's also something that will haircut your value. One of the companies I tried to sell, the buyers, private equity firm, came back and asked for an outrageous indemnity around escheatment, of all things, right? We were holding customer money, and the question was how much of that is really, if it was an uncashed check by a consumer, was it escheatable under, and we went through all of those kinds of questions. So you need to, back to the panelists have said, you need to know your business. So those are three that I think are really important. Another one that may not be so obvious, it's the hero syndrome. Does anybody know what that is? It's a business that's too dependent on one person. And that means you've created a nice job for yourself, but you haven't created a business that has value because it's hard to capture that when you go to sell. Technical deficit is another one, where if you have antiquated systems and processes like Joe was just talking about, they'll look at that and want to discount it. Another thing, I'm advising a company on this now in the life sciences space, they thought they would sell to a strategic at a very early stage. Far too early. I used to work for a strategic in that space. And they will discount the heck out of the purchase price. You'll never capture the value. And so you need to think about where you are in the business life cycle. Revenue quality is another one that's really important. Customer concentration, your terms, your pricing. When was the last time you priced? All of those things matter and matter a lot, right? Is your business dependent upon big projects? How much of it's recurring versus non-recurring? There are a myriad of questions that matter there. And then the last one that I'll end with is turnover. How long has your team been together? Who's recently left? What's their morale? Have you done a survey of employee happiness, that sort of thing? We used to call them climate surveys at the company I was with, right? And if you've got a bunch of jaded employees who are posting on one of the different job boards that are out there, Indeed, for example, and trashing you as the business leader and owner, you probably have a problem because that stuff's going to come out there. So you need to look around and make sure you've got all those things captured.
Thank you, Bill. So Linda, the next question will be for you. What do sophisticated buyers scrutinize most closely during the diligence process that founders often underestimate or overlook? And with that, where do you see deal flow slowing down, or deals slowing down or falling apart?
So sophisticated buyers are really wanting to make sure that what they saw in the teaser, in the SIM, in the marketing materials is really what's there, right? And so they're going to put your contracts under the microscope. They're going to make sure that you have your IP assignments. They're going to be looking for legal and compliance risks. So are there regulatory and compliance issues, especially in highly regulated industries like healthcare or other sensitive industries? In terms of material contracts, do you have key customer contracts that are weak or should have been renegotiated prior to starting your process? They're really looking at, are there non-assignable contracts or change of control provisions that are going to be triggered upon a sale. So all of those things, buyers are really going to look under the hood, kick the tires, and really put your contracts and corporate documentation under the microscope. In terms of where deals slow down or fall apart, it's really surprises and diligence, right? Buyers don't want to be surprised. The story needs to make sense. Your narrative needs to be coherent. So when you don't disclose something material, and the buyers are going to find out, and that's that can really rub buyers the wrong way, and could even walk away. The other is disorganized responses from your advisory team and management, right? So during management presentations, is management saying something and then the legal documents say another thing, or your advisors are not aligned? That really is not a good look. And then the other is just unresolved, structural and tax issues, where there's not enough time, when you don't have enough time to do this pre-sale health check. These are the kinds of issues that come up. And I think just here it's surprises really erode trust. That's really the biggest one, I think. Surprises are just never good. So.
Trust is a big topic right now.